Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good day, dear students. This is Dr. Wafa, and in this lecture, I'm going to present Chapter 3, Verb and Verb Phrase. Verbs can be classified in terms of their function into lexical and auxiliary verbs. Lexical verbs, they can be found in the lexical. They are content verbs. They carry lexical meanings like walk, write, beautify, and so on. And they are the main verbs in the sentence. They can have other verbs, other auxiliary verbs or helping verbs in the sentence according to, in terms of their need, whether they want to show the tense or operations and so on. Auxiliary verbs are further classified into primary auxiliary verbs like verbs to do, verbs to have, verbs to be, modal auxiliary verbs like can, could, may, might, shall, should, and so on. And we have the marginal modal auxiliary verbs that are a subcategory of modal auxiliary verbs. Marginal modal auxiliary verbs are those verbs that are less commonly used in English, like the verb used to, dare, and need. They can be accompanied with to, but if they come with to, they are lexical actually. So these are the categories of verbs. There is this note in the book, mentioned in the book. We have these two verbs, had better and tend to. Had better, tend to. They have similar semantic relations with the modal auxiliary verbs. It means that they have, in terms of their meaning, they are close to modal auxiliary verbs. Like, for example, they had better attend the concert. They had better attend the concert. Now, the appearance of this verb in this situation, in this context, it is close to the meaning of should or must, shows the obligation. So in terms of obligation, shows it is close to the modal auxiliary should. That's why they are called semi-auxiliary verbs. They are called semi-auxiliary verbs because they act as auxiliary verbs, but in fact they are not auxiliary verbs. Now we have the verb forms, the very essential topic in this chapter. You can find it in the book on page 27. We have the forms of verbs. Basically, we can say by default, we have 5 forms of verbs. As you can see the pointer of the mouse, we have the stem. This is the base form of the verb. We have the S form, symbolized as VS. We have the past tense, symbolized as VED1. We have the ing participle form, which can be symbolized in VING. And we have the ed participle or the past participle that is symbolized as VED2. So the first row, you can see that the first row shows the forms of verbs, the 5 forms of verbs. The second row, we have the symbols of verbs, symbols of the forms. And the third row, we have some examples. So I try to provide different types of verbs to show different number of forms of verbs. In the book, Quirck suggested 5 forms of verbs, but not all verbs, they can appear, they can show, they can propose all the 5 forms. Let's take the examples. The example, for example, the regular verb call. This is the first form, call as a stem. The second form, calls. If you make a comparison, you can see that call and calls, they have 2 different forms with the addition of the S form. So V is different from VS because with VS we have the addition of S form. The VED1 would be called, call with ED. So far we have 3 forms of the verb called. With ing, VING would be calling. So far we have 4 forms. With VED2, again we have called. Now if you pay attention, if you make a comparison between VED1 and VED2 for the regular verb call, you would find that the 2 verbs have, the 2 forms are identical. the verb call, which is a regular verb, they show identical forms of VED1 and VED2. So in this case, there is no need to consider regular verbs to have 5 forms. Regular verbs where VED1 and VED2 are equal, they show only 4 forms of verbs. And be aware that we're not talking about the function here, we're talking about the form. We're talking about only this structure. Because of course, the past tense, the function of the past tense is different from the function of the past participle. The context in which they appear is different. So here we're not talking about the function, we're talking about only the outer structure, the form of the verb. The second example, the irregular verb drink, where it has 3 different forms of VED1 and VED2. So let's count the number of the forms. We have the base form drink. We have the VS drinks. So far we have 2 forms. We have the VED1 drank. See, drank is different from drink, different from drinks, different from drink. So far we have 3 forms. Drinking, 4 forms. Drunk, the VED2, would be 5 forms of the irregular verb drink. We have another example, another verb which is also irregular, the verb cut. And you all know that the verb cut has identical forms all alike. I mean, it has all alike VED1 and VED2 forms. The 3 forms of VED1 and VED2 are identical. So in this case, let's count the number of the forms of the verb cut. Cut, this is 1. Cuts, another form, this is 2. Again, we go back to VED1 cut, which is identical with V, which is the base, so it is not counted. We have cutting with ing, number 3 forms, and the VED2 would be again cut, that is similar with VED1 and similar to V, which is the base. So in this case, the irregular verb cut has only 3 forms. So you can see that with different forms of different types of verbs, we have different forms. This is page 27 in your book. If you look at the table is organized in this way, where we have the first column shows the form of the verb. We have the second column, the symbols of the verb. The third column shows the examples, certain examples, and in the end, the last column shows the functions. These are very important. They're very crucial and very essential. We need to know, we need to have an idea about where do we use each one of the forms. Now, for example, we have the base form, which is the stem, symbolized as V, and there are some examples: cut, call, drink, and put. Different forms of verbs. Where do we use, now the question is, where do we use the base form of the verb? The first case where we use the base form of the verb would be in the present. Give me a second. It would be in the present tense, except for the third person singular. So when we have the present simple, and we have the subjects with I, you, we, they, we use the base form of the verb. The second case would be in the imperative form of the sentence, where you are giving an order. And in this case also the verb is in the base form of the verb, call at once. The third case where the verb is in the base form is called the subjunctive. One of the cases of the subjunctive is when we use, in cases of demanding or suggesting, the verb form would be in the base form. For example, he demanded that she call and see him. You see that in the sentence we have the subject of the second clause would be third person singular. So we would expect that in such kind of a pronoun use and the tense use, the verb would be in the VS form, right? But because we can see that this marked verb, which has no S form, it shows that the mood of the sentence, the mood of the verb is in the subjunctive. And the second verb as well. It applies to the second verb as well. There is no S form because the sentence is in the subjunctive mood. The last case where we use the base form of the verb is with the modal auxiliary verbs, something called the bare infinitive or to infinitive. In some cases, in some structures of the sentence, where we have the modal auxiliary verb, see, he may call, may, which is a modal auxiliary verb, is always followed by a base form of the verb. Or with case of to infinitive, when we say infinitive, it means that the verb is in the base form with no to preceding the verb. While with the to infinitive form of the verb, there is a to, there is this particle to, a preposition to, that precedes the verb. Let's take the example. He wants her to call. To call. So we have to infinitive followed by a base form of the verb. So these are the cases where we have the verb in the base form, in the stem, in the infinitive form of it. The second case, or the second form of the verb, is the S form, where we have the subject would be the third person singular. The verb symbol would be VS. These are some examples: calls, drinks, puts. And the only case where we have the verb appearing in the S form would be where we have the present simple and the subject is the third person singular, with pronouns such as he, she, it, and what comes instead. These are we may call them pronouns or proforms, and what comes instead, he, maybe Ali, or she, my mother, it, for example, the cat, the butterfly, and so on. And the verb would be in the S form. He, she, it calls every day. The third case, or the third form of the verb, would be in the past form, symbolized as VD1. For example, called, drank, put. And it is only used with the past tense, past simple tense, like he called yesterday. Very simple. The fourth case, or the fourth form of the verb, would be ing participle or present participle. The symbol is VING. For example, calling, drinking, putting. And we have two cases in terms of the function. We have two cases where verbs appear in the ing form. The first case is the normal case that we all know, which is the progressive aspect or the continuous aspect, when we have the present continuous or past continuous or future continuous and so on. So the formula would be verb to be plus the main verb with ing. For example, he is calling in a moment. He's calling in a moment. He is calling, or he was calling in a moment. Past, present, no difference. The idea is that we have verb to be, and then the main verb would be in the ing form. The second case, when we have non-finite verbs, which is called ing participle clauses. A clause with a non-finite verb, and if you recall, we talked about three forms of non-finite verbs. One of them was the verb with ing, or what is called the ing participle. So calling early, you see the verb is in the ing form. It is not preceded by any helping verb, but because it is non-finite, it appears as such. So calling early, I found her at home. The last case, or the last form of verbs, is called the ed participle or the past participle, and the symbol would be VED2. For example, called, drunk, put. And there are three functions. We have the first one, the perfective aspect, where the verb appears in the ed participle or ed2 form. And the formula would be, we have verb to have plus the main verb in the past participle form. For example, he has drunk the water. Has. So we have the verb has as a perfective verb, perfective auxiliary verb, and then the main verb would be in the ed2 form. The second case, the second function would be in the passive voice. The passive voice has this, it shows this formula, verb to be plus the verb, the main verb with the ed2 form. For example, he is called Jack. He, and then we have verb to be, and then we have the verb, the main verb in the ed2 form. And this sentence is in the passive voice. The third case, or the third function, would be what is called the ed participle clauses. Again, we're talking about the non-finite verbs. One of the cases, or one of the forms, one of the three forms of the non-finite verbs is when the verb appears in the ed participle, or what is called the ed past participle form of the verb. For example, called early, he had a quick breakfast. Now, called here, if you notice, it is not preceded by a subject, not preceded by a helping verb, and it is an non-finite verb. It is a non-finite verb, and the form would be, the function would be, the form of the verb would be past participle. Okay. Now we have the modal auxiliary verbs. The modal auxiliary verbs are those verbs which are helping verbs in the sentence. They cannot appear alone because they should always show some aid to the main verb. So modal auxiliary verbs, these are the features. They have no S form, they have no ing form, they have ed1 form but no ed2 form. So it's not possible to say mays or musts. These are not correct. These are grammatically unacceptable. Or they cannot appear in ing contexts or ing continuous forms like maying or musting. These two aspects, you can see this asterisk. It shows that these structures are grammatically unaccepted. Also, among the other features, cannot be used in imperative forms. You cannot use them in sentences, in imperative sentences, in sentences with order. They don't accept the to infinitive. It's not possible to say to may, to must, to will. And again, this asterisk shows that this structure is grammatically unacceptable. So these are the features of modal auxiliary verbs. The morphology of lexical verbs. We go back to the lexical verbs. So lexical verbs, they can be classified into regular or irregular verbs. Regular verbs are those verbs that accept the regular rules in terms of only the addition of ed form, whether ed1 and ed2. But in terms of adding the ing and s form, please your attention, when we have the suffixation of ing and s, there is no regularity. The regular rule applies actually. So both regular and irregular verbs, they accept the s form and the ing form. So where does this difference lies? Where does this difference show? It shows only with the case of ed1 and ed2. Now, let's take some examples. Regular verbs with the addition of s, regular calls, and with the addition of ing, calling. And the irregular verbs, again, drinks, and with the ing would be drinking. So everything is regular here. While the irregular case would be in the addition of ed, like the verb call would be called in ed1, and with ed2 would be called again. While the irregular verb, you see, drank, there is no prominent or, let's say, overt ed added to the verb drink, so we don't say drinked, right, with ed. The form of the verb would be modified, let's say. So there is an infix in the verb, no suffix. And with the ed2, again, we have another form, drunk. So with the addition of the ed, we can see that there is this differentiation, irregular and irregular verbs. Going back to the verb forms, regular verbs, they follow the following forms of verbs. The regular verbs, yes, we're dealing with the regular verbs. So we can conclude that regular verbs, they have only 4 forms. And again, I would like to remind you that we're talking about the forms and not the functions, because the functions are different. The functions would remain 5, because VED1 and VED2, they have 2 different functions. And they appear in, verbs appear in 2 different contexts. But in terms of forms, in terms of the outer shape of the verb, we have 4 forms of regular verbs. So what are the 4 forms we have in terms of the symbol V, which is the base, like call, like try, V, ing, it appears with the continuous forms or ing participle, like calling, liking, trying. The third would be VS or S form, like calls, likes, tries. These are all regular verbs. And finally, we have VED. Pay attention, please. VED, there is no ED1, ED2. Why? Because VED1 and VED2 are identical. That's why we don't have number 1 or number 2 after ED. We have only ED. So only VED with the irregular verbs, because they imply past and the ED participle. They imply VED1 and VED2. These 2 forms are identical, like called, liked, and tried. Some notes. If the base of the verb is none, other forms of the verb can be predicted. This applies to the regular verbs. It means that if I give you like any of the verbs, any of the regular verbs, if I give you the base form, you can anticipate, you can predict the rest of the forms, of course, because the rules are obvious, they are none to you. While if I give you an irregular verb, okay, and I ask you to give me the rest of the forms, that would be unpredictable unless you know the rest of the forms, unless you memorize the rest of the forms. So with irregular verbs, the anticipating the rest of the forms is not possible. While with the regular verbs, it is possible because they follow the same rule, the regular rule. The second point says that the base is listed in the dictionary. Sure. And with the third point, it says that all new or borrowed or coined verbs adopt this rule. It means that if we have any processes of word formation where new verbs are added to the language, they follow the same rule. They follow the regular rule because they are borrowed from other rules. So any new verb entering English, they would follow the regular rule of verbs. ING and S form. We're talking about the phonological aspects, actually the pronunciation of the realization of S form when it is added to the base. So with the ing form, there is it says that it is straightforward when you add ing to the verb, to the stem of the verb. It would be straightforward, like pushing, sleeping. While if you add S form to the base of the verb, we can have different realizations. It depends on the last consonant of the base. So it can be realized as is. This S can be realized as is, like in the verb passes, or it can be realized as z sound like in the verb does, or the third case would be it is realized as se like in the verb cuts. So when does that happen? With is, the addition of s form, the s would be realized as is when it is added after bases ending in voiceless and voiced. This v, minus v and plus v, it means that minus v voiceless, plus v voiced. Sibilants sounds are se, ze, she, je, che, je, and spelled as es, unless the base is already ending in e. Now look at the verb watch, watch. It ends with the consonant sound ch. So if you want to add this s form, it would be realized as watches, not watches, right? So you have to add this, the sound, the vowel e, and then the sound z. It would be is. Or grudge would be grudges. So in the end, you can find that we have the sound is. So s is realized, or the sound or the s particle would be realized as is. It can be realized, the second realization would be as z sound after bases ending in voiced, except for the ones that are found with the sibilants, of course. So any voiced consonants, any base ending in a voiced consonant except for the sibilants, and then adding s form would be realized as z, like calls, calls. Or it can be realized as se after bases ending in voiceless sounds except for the sibilants, like sit, sit. T is a voiceless sound, voiceless consonant, so the addition of s would be realized as se, sits, sits. These are matters of phonology, phonetics. These are matters of pronunciation. The other matter that is also associated with phonetics and phonology is the addition of ed. So ed would be, in both cases, whether it is ed1 or ed2, the realization would be, again, with three cases. It is realized either as id or di or ti. So it can be realized as, ed can be realized as id when you have a verb as a base ending in di or ti, like pad, pad, padded, padded. So you can see that there is id sound at the end of the verb. Or it can be realized as di after bases ending in voiced consonants, voiced, except for di, because if you have this di sound, it would be realized at the first case. So pay attention. Like the verb change, change, it is a voiced, the sound j is voiced. So when we want to add this ed, it would be realized as di, changed, changed. And the last realization would be as the sound t after bases ending in voiceless, except for t, because if you have this t, it will be realized as the first case. So any voiceless, any bases ending in any voiceless sounds, like pass, pass, we have the set sound, and then with the addition of ed would be passed, passed, like, liked. Again, matters with phonetics and phonology. The doubling of consonants, 3.7, it has to do with the spelling issues. So the final consonant, except for the X letter, they can be doubled. They are doubled. In what cases? In cases where we have these two features or these two, let's say, conditions to be available. So both cases should be available in order for any base to be, the final letter to be doubled with the addition of ing and ed. So one of the conditions is that the preceding vowel is stressed. So we have, this is the base, okay, and the final letter, we have to decide whether to double the final letter or not. This final letter, if it is preceded by a vowel and this vowel is stressed, I mean this ah sound is stressed, then with the addition of ing and ed, you have to double the final consonant. You have to double the final R. So it would be barring, barred. See, in terms of the, it has nothing to do, here the doubling is not associated with phonology or phonetics, but it is associated with the spelling. But it is related to, it is affected by the pronunciation because we need to focus on the matter of stress. We need to make sure that the vowel is stressed. It is the only vowel in the word, in the base, so it is doubled. The second rule, it says that, or the second condition, it says that it is spelled with a single letter. The vowel sound, or the vowel letter, it is single. See, so we have one vowel sound, or the one vowel letter. So in this case, we have two conditions available. The first one is that the final consonant is preceded by a vowel that is stressed. And the second rule says that the vowel is, it appears in a single letter. It's not double letter. So we have the doubling of the final consonants. Look at the second example, permit, permit. We have two vowels, as you can see. The vowel E and the vowel I. In terms of pronunciation, we have the vowel and the vowel E. So let's check the first rule. It says that the preceding vowel is stressed. Now we have the final letter is T. It is preceded by a vowel, and this vowel is stressed. Yes, it is stressed. If you pronounce the word, it would be permit. Permit, and you can see that the stress is on the second syllable, which contains this vowel. So the first rule, or the first condition, is met, while the second rule says that it should appear as a single letter. And single letter, yes it is, which is the letter I. So in terms of adding ing and ed, we double the final consonant of the base. While if you look at the verb look, although it has, although the vowel is stressed, but it's not spelled with single letter. We have two letter vowels, right? So in this case, we don't double the final consonants of the base with the addition of ing and ed. Other examples, you see that in these two cases, we don't double the final consonants of the base. Why? Let's check. The word enter, enter. The final consonant is R. It is preceded by a single vowel. Tamam. So the second feature is met, actually, but the first feature is not met, because when you pronounce the word enter, the stress of the pronunciation would show that the stress is on the first syllable, not the second syllable. So the second syllable is unstressed, and therefore the final consonant is not doubled with the addition of ing and ed. Same with the word dread. Dread. Dread has one single syllable, and it is stressed, but again, the final consonant of the base is not doubled with the addition of ing and ed, because the vowel appears in two letters. See, we have the letter E and A, so it has two letters. That's why there is no doubling of the final consonants. There are some exceptions, of course. No rule in English has no exception. There are some exceptions. The exceptions are listed in the book. You can check them on page 29 and 30. When we have the final consonants, when we have a base and the final consonants ending in G, it becomes double G, and K sound becomes double K with K, CK, in order to keep the sound K. Although with the final consonant is not, the final vowel is not stressed. So not the two features are met here, but the final consonant, even though the final consonant is stressed, because it is an exception. Like the verb humbug, humbug. And you can see that the first syllable is stressed, the final syllable is not stressed, but though this, we have the final consonant of the base is doubled by the addition of ing and ed. Same with panic, panic. The first syllable is stressed, while with the addition of ing and ed, the final consonant is doubled. And again, with the case of British pronunciation and British spelling rules, L becomes double L, M becomes double M, P becomes double P with the addition of ing and ed, while the same words in American context, in American English, they are not doubled. Please check page 29 and 30 to find examples of this case. Other rules, other spelling rules, spelling tips on page 30 of the book. The treatment of Y. If we have bases ending in consonant Y, with the addition of ing and ed, they are converted into I. So you can see carry becomes carries by the modification of Y into I, and same with the word carried. While with ing, if you want to add ing, we would keep the base carry the way it is, with no converting. Yeah, you see, the Y is not converted into I. Also, we have the change of Y into I after a vowel in the past tense, like lay becomes late, so you can see Y is changed into I. Say becomes said, Y again is converted into I. And it is worth mentioning that these verbs are irregular. Bases ending in IE is replaced with a Y before ing. So if you want to add ing to these verbs, you need to change the IE into Y. And the final thing is the dealing with the final E, whether they are dropped or not, whether they are deleted or not. So the final E is dropped, usually speaking, before the addition of ing and ed, like the verb save. The final E is dropped with the addition of ing, saving, and saved. Well, again, there are some exceptions. If you have these parts of words, like words ending in double E, like agree, ye, oe, ge. Let's take the first one. Like agree, we have with the addition of ing, there are no dropping of E, while with the addition of ed, there is dropping of the final E in the base. So in order not to have 3 E letters in a row, the final E is dropped from the base. Same goes with the rest of the examples. I would like to thank you all for your active listening to this lecture. Sorry that this lecture became so long. I wish that this lecture would be of benefit of you, and I wish you all a good day. Thank you so much.